Welcome to the channel. Today we have with us Alex Grape, co-founder of Clip Finance, former model scout, tech extraordinaire, and a friend. Welcome.
Thank you, Patrick. Nice to be here.
Yeah, no, it's great to have you on the channel. Alex and I have had the pleasure of meeting in person before, and I've been an advisor on the project that he co-founded, Clip Finance, for over 2 years. So we've gotten to know each other pretty well in that time. And he's got one of the more interesting backgrounds of people who I've met in crypto, and that's saying something. So today we just wanted to talk about his journey towards founding a successful crypto project, as well as some of the interesting tech behind Clip. Because for people who are into yield, I think you're going to find some unique ways to earn yield through Clip that we'll talk about later in this video. So to start, why don't you just give us a background about yourself?
Yeah, so as Patrick mentioned, my name is Alex. I've been in crypto now for like 6 years, I'd say. I got very lucky to join crypto a little before the previous bull started. I was working I had my own company. It was a AI company before ChatGPT and before AI was hot. I decided to automate the work that I used to do full time for 10 years. So as Patrick mentioned, it was related to fashion and scouting models. So I started my career way outside of tech and crypto. It was more like a in-person thing where you were walking the streets trying to find the next top model to walk the fashion shows in Paris, Milan, New York, and London. It's the journey started in Estonia, where I'm from, and slowly moved up to working at an agency called Elite in Paris. It's one of the biggest agencies in the world, representing models like Kendall Jenner, Adriana Lima, the girls that walk the Victoria's Secret shows. And my job there was to travel throughout different countries, organize castings, pick the most interesting talent and introduce them to the fashion world through bringing them to do fashion shows in Paris and other countries that I mentioned. After doing this for 10 years and seeing Elon Musk launching rockets to the space, I thought that maybe it's time for me to do a little change from being in this exciting, glamorous fashion world to building something of my own. I was listening to, because was always interested in crypto, but I was doing this as a hobby. And one of the things I was interested in was like, how do all those hedge funds and algo traders make decision on what to buy and what to sell? So their thing was they're just crunching data and deciding what to buy, what to sell. So I was like, the face is just like a bunch of math. It's like you can measure the distance between the top of the head and the top of the face and the bottom, how big is the nose and all of this. So I decided, why not make an algorithm that measures the face geometry, feed it to an AI with a bunch of model faces and a bunch of not model faces, and make a prediction, like give it a face and say which cluster does this face belong to, the one that looks like a model or the one that doesn't look like a model. And that's how we started a company called Beholder, which was looking hundreds of thousands of profiles on Instagram and providing leads to the agencies that I worked for. And yeah, that's kind of my journey into tech. And from there, I decided that, okay, since I'm already in tech, why not explore more avenues that are interesting for me, because this is going well. Then I went into Chainlink hackathon because I wanted to learn smart contracts. Managed to get a prize there as a runner-up, and from that point on, the crypto journey started. It was a very exciting crypto journey because the bull market was starting and everyone was looking for developers. I was getting messages on Telegram left and right. Either people wanted to invest in the project that we did on our hackathon, or people looking to develop something. So in the end, I started picking up different jobs, started my own Solidity development agency. And back then it was really easy. You could literally take a smart contract, which everyone wanted to fork. You did a command F replace the token name, and people were willing to pay you $3,000 to command F a token, enter their token name, and publish it on GitHub, and that's literally 15 minutes for $3,000. It's not as exciting anymore because a lot of people figured it out, and they create like platforms, and there's now Pump.Fun to launch your meme coin. You don't even have to hire a developer. So the market has changed a lot, and I guess we'll talk more about this later.
Yeah, no, it's definitely different. I mean, if you look at, I forget the exact number, but it's something like a majority of the tokens that have ever been created were created this year because of Pump.Fun and other tools like that. So how did you end up actually co-founding Clip Finance? Because that's how we met.
Yeah, that's an even funnier story when it comes to how I met my co-founder, because I was in New York, and he had a friend come to see him, and somehow I matched on Tinder with this friend. And he was out of town. He was coming in town, and that day when he was coming in town, I was having a Tinder date with this person. And then Arthur walks in, and he's like, "Hey, what are you doing here?" And I'm like, "Oh, I've seen you in Estonia before." So in the end, that's how we met, and we started talking crypto. The friend went on the background, and we went party together. And from that point on, we became friends. And Arthur was thinking about which project to start in DeFi, because he was a big DeFi guy, and he kind of also introduced me into DeFi. So we decided, why not come together and do something. Back then, the cross-chain and multi-chain world was still a thing in the beginning phases. There were a lot of papers written on cross-chain communication and all of that. And we thought, okay, there are yield protocols, but in reality, the yield is now scattered across different chains. Why not like create a place where users can just deposit and forget, and the tokens will move across different chains and earn yield.
Yeah, so Clip, I mean, even since I think I started helping out with some advising back maybe in August 2022. So, which is, time flies.
Yeah.
That's however many months ago now, more than 2 years. But it's gone through a few iterations of what you guys were working on. Can you talk about kind of how the project evolved over time and why?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, we started with cross-chain yields before the cross-chain communication was actually a thing. I read the paper of Chainlink about CCIP before it existed, and in reality, I thought that they will bring it to the market faster, and I think Layer 0 was the one who kind of pioneered and took over the cross-chain communication. And realizing that cross-chain communication was not a thing yet, and we didn't want to build the cross-chain communication tech back then, we decided, okay, we'll just focus on one chain. We will just build strategies on one chain. We'll start from simple strategies like LPing into exchanges, where we would combine multiple different LP positions from different protocols under a single yield router, or I don't know how to call it differently. It was like almost like a ETF of different yields, and we're building this for quite a while, because technically it's a very hard product. And the lesson that we learned after building that product is people in crypto want to be in control of their assets. They don't want anyone to move their assets for them. So we moved away from that really fast. We started building individual auto compounding strategies, which was thing that brought us the most yield. It was strategies on top of Stargate, which auto compound, and on top of because of Linea. So we built on top of Mindy, which is Aave fork. So
Sorry, one
essentially the
second.
classical.
The audio cut out for a second. Can you repeat? I think you were saying which chain you're on. Can you repeat that? Because the audio cut out for a
Yes.
minute.
Is it better now?
It's better now. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. So we started on Linea chain, Linea. I don't know how to pronounce it the right way. And there's a Aave fork, which is called Mindy Finance, and then there's Zeroland. And we started building on top of these projects, auto compounding strategies that people started depositing in. And we realized that in the beginning, it's better to not reinvent the wheel. It's better to do what people are looking for. And after that, bring innovation. I'm already sharing some takeaways, some painful takeaways as a founder that we saw. And the other thing that I learned throughout building Clip Finance is that you really have to go with the narratives, because we started building on Binance Chain, and any investor that I spoke to back then were like looking down upon that chain, because all the new chains were popping up, like Arbitrum, Optimism, and if you're not there, you're essentially not relevant. So we were kind of going against what everyone is saying, and now I realize, just don't do that. Just go and do where people are. Go where the people are and where the attention is, because it's, at the end of the day, it's all an attention game.
Mm-hmm. I feel that. I mean, you think that applies to so many different industries, even content creation, like what I do. There were times early on where I was having trouble growing YouTube, like trying to figure out how to do my own style of thumbnail and stuff. And there's a time for that, but it's like, if you see what's working for other people, the first step is to be able to copy that, and then you can try to tweak it or emulate it. Or it's like even cooking. I always make this mistake with cooking, where I get a recipe and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna make this healthier. It's like, no. You make the recipe as it's supposed to be, and then once you know how to do it, you adjust it, because otherwise you end up screwing up things badly, like I did last night when I was cooking.
100%. And sometimes like sometimes my girlfriend starts to improvise, and I'm like, don't improvise, it's a science, you just have to follow the recipe, because then it comes out either too salty
and then
or
improvise once you know how to do it, right? But it's like, if you improvise from the start, then there's all this experience other people have done. My theory on the original idea, which of course I was involved then because I was helping to come up with DeFi strategies back when it was you deposit stable coins and then it spreads it out to different pools. I think that idea may have been early, because I don't know if you saw the list of the request for projects from Y Combinator for this year. One of them,
I did not see, but I assume it's something related to stable coins.
yeah,
And
related to stable coins.
yeah.
And now you have all these neobanks popping up. So I think it may have been a few years early.
That's also very possible, and we've been actually talking to Arthur about this, because if you look at Ethena, Ethena is a stable coin, and at the end of the day, what they're doing is they're taking your money, putting it off chain, and generating yield on top of it. So people still are fine with giving away their funds if the yield is good enough, but I feel like on-chain yield, it's very hard to be very fast with on-chain yield. And I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's hard to be fast with on-chain yield, because the yield strategies come up so quickly, and the period between when you start building a strategy to when you audit it and when you release it, that strategy might be irrelevant already. So you find the strategy, you're a month or a month and a half away from releasing it, and by the time you release it, it might be irrelevant. So sometimes is that a problem? But you're right. I think we should take our tech and try to wrap it into a stable coin and see what happens.
Yeah, I think there's also something psychological where what Athena did was, rather than it being like you're depositing your USDC into this vault, you're instead trading it for a different coin, and then it's like the fact that stuff is happening to it is almost it's, I feel like psychologically it feels different for people that they're holding this other coin that's yield bearing versus they're locking things in there, even though under the hood it's similar. But I know people who are watching, they're probably saying, okay, like we talked about what Clip was doing. You talked about this yield aggregator. Early on, I mentioned like there's cool new sources of yield coming now. What's the latest iteration of Clip's product?
Yes, we started because we're always looking for what is the highest yielding product we can build. And realizing that if you just do what everyone else is doing, you're just going to compete with everyone else, offer the same yields, the added value is very minimal. So we had to come up with something completely different. That thing that is completely different is not just staking and providing yield, because it has to solve a specific problem to be able to provide good yield. So the problem we want to solve is in the space of interoperability and being able to make to help solve this problem with a lot of chains popping up. So when we talk about like cross-chain bridging, we know there are intent bridges, and we know there are message passing type bridges like layer 0, and intent bridges like across, for example. So when you bridge through a cross, there is on the back end a proprietary solver, relayer, who fulfills your transaction. So when I say proprietary, it means that you as a retail user don't have the ability to give him money to fulfill that transaction. Whereas when we talk about Stargate, you can go to Stargate's pool, deposit money, and Stargate will use that money to fulfill the bridge transactions, which layer 0 communicates between the different chains. So we tried being a solver on top of a cross, and we saw that the yields are double digits. It's like 30 plus, sometimes up to 60% yield on Ethereum. And that's huge. So what we realized that because there's no way for users to make deposits into those protocols, into those pools that participate in solving intents. We decided to build a strategy where we would create a solver so that the user doesn't have to think about all the technical aspects, doesn't have to think about reorganizations of blockchains and how to protect against that, because it's a competition for speed, and you kind of have to not get into a transaction that was reorganized. And essentially, we build the infrastructure, user brings the assets, we deploy it on as many chains as possible, connect all those chains together, and the user funds will be used to fulfill bridging transactions in the intent infrastructure, and we will funnel back the yield to the users who provide liquidity. I feel like I could have said this in a way easier way, and I overcomplicated it. But ask me more questions so I can clarify it.
Yeah, so I guess would one way to look at it, the way I was thinking about it in my mind, is it like liquid staking but for solvers, where rather than having to run the infrastructure yourself, you can get the yield just by depositing your ETH?
For sure. And when it comes to liquid staking, we are planning to give also the benefit of, after you deposit that Ethereum for us to solve with, we're going to give you a wrapped Ethereum. You can use that in DeFi protocols as a collateral, because at any point in time, you can come back to our protocol, return the staked, the wrapped Ethereum that we gave you, and received your original Ethereum plus the yield that you earned from the solving that we've been doing.
Got it. And so can people deposit liquid staking tokens? So say, ST ETH, or only ETH itself?
So at the moment, we will allow only Ethereum, but we can also allow staked Ethereum, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter which asset, as long as we support that asset and as long as there's demand for that asset to be bridged. As long as people are bridging staked Ethereum between I don't know, layer 2s and layer 1s, then we can support that asset, and users can earn extra yield on that staked Ethereum.
I see. So it's not restaking per se, but it's similar in the idea that you can take your ETH and then add extra yield on it. Now, what sort of, do you have any numbers on what that yield might look like based on historical activity?
Right now, the yield that we've been generating is between 35 to like 60%. So it varies between, yeah, exactly. I had the same reaction when we did the math.
Huh? Huh?
Exactly. That's why you don't have the ability to go and deposit your Ethereum into a solving protocol, because all the big market makers are
Cleaning up.
taking this yield for themselves.
They're cleaning up. I mean, is this live already? Can people use this on Clip?
It's not live, but the demo is live. So if you go
The
on
demo's
Clip Finance, you can see our solver in action. You can see all the transactions that it's fulfilling, and you can see like the profit that is generating. We don't have a big amount of deposits there right now because we're literally just testing it out and seeing how we can improve the efficiency of it, and how we can also front run all the competition, because it's a very competitive game. Everyone is trying to be the one to execute that transaction and get the commission. But yeah, soon in a month or so, we're gonna be able to accept users' deposits, and we will start solving bigger amounts as well.
Awesome. Yeah, I was going to ask. So sometime in December would be the target for accepting
Yeah.
deposits. Now, how much do you think that you can absorb before it dilutes that yield? Because I mean, 35%
Our
huge.
our current estimation is approximately 1,875 Ethereum. So approximately like $3 million worth of assets, to not dilute the yield, because the more assets we have, the bigger transactions we can take care of, and the biggest fees are obviously earned in those big transactions. For example, on Base, we were running the solver for about an hour, and we had approximately $100,000 in deposits, and the $100,000 was like eaten up through people bridging on Base within an hour. So you can imagine like there's way more to handle, and obviously we don't fulfill all the transactions. We had the maximum of 3 Ethereum per transaction. So there's way more people bridging bigger amounts than 3 Ethereum. Besides, there's also a lot of new chains coming up. There's like
Yeah.
every 18 or 19 days, there's a new EVM popping up, and all those EVMs, they will want to be connected into this liquidity network to be able to onboard users from all different layer twos. So for different EVM chains, I'm pretty sure we will be even able to negotiate some kind of boosted yield, just so that they would be able to bootstrap their liquidity and get more users onto their chain.
Now, will all deposits be on Linea for now, or will people be able to deposit on other chains also?
So at the moment, we will probably open it up on Linea, but it's going to depend on how the strategy is going to go moving forward. We're not 100% certain yet, but right now it's Linea because we have their support.
Awesome. And then for people who are watching, the solvers, they're through a cross. Is that, or are you doing it on other bridges as well?
Yes, so we're doing it currently on a cross, but our ultimate goal is to not depend on any single solver network, build our own system where we can be integrated into other aggregators, and also work directly with chains, because otherwise we're going to be dependent on the cross to kind of move from chain to chain. But in this case, if we are doing our own thing, we can also kind of expand faster through other EVM and non-EVM chains.
And that makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense. So you talked about, was it every 19 days there's a new EVM chain now?
Yeah.
Which is insane. I remember back in 2021, there were few enough that people like me could farm every single one. Like, there were maybe 10, 20, 10, 15 chains that had any, reasonable number of apps, and you could
Yeah.
farm the main tokens on every single one. Not the case anymore. I mean, like, I haven't even heard of half of them.
I know. Today I just got a message from some L1. I think it was a Bitcoin L1, that they're looking for projects to onboard. So I receive at least 3 messages a month from a new L1 that I've never heard of that is inviting us to join. And you kind of have this like where to go, because they're all offering you some kind of grants. They're all offering you something, but at the end of the day, again, you have to go where the attention is. That's how you get users. Otherwise, you start spending your time going to a specific chain that gave you a grant, and the chain is dead, and you're like, okay, what are we doing here?
Yeah, I talked to a while back. I interviewed a founder of a major DeFi project on here, somewhat major, and he said we were talking about like building for a billion users versus building for like what he was working on, and he said at the end of the day, you build for the users that are here today if you
Exactly.
want to get any usage. Um, yeah, no, the Bitcoin DeFi is like another world actually, because so I have these scripts I run for my weekly data report on my newsletter, and it pulls like fastest growing protocols from DeFi Llama or protocols that have grown every week for a month straight. And every single week, there's some protocol on a Bitcoin layer two that went from zero to $100 million that just launched because somehow they attracted some Bitcoin whales to deposit, $50 million into it as collateral or something. It's just an entirely different world right now, and I think as of today, there's something like 8 of them now have $100 million plus, eight Bitcoin layer twos. It's kind of been like a 0 to 1 category this year.
Yeah, that's like it's interesting because we have all those different groups, different cultures, different communities, and sometimes we don't even know about each other, but we exist somehow all in the same space. It's strange. Actually, the only time I participated in something Bitcoin outside of buying Bitcoin was when Bitcoin NFTs were a thing. I was sitting on Twitter, and someone was doing Ribbit and talking about Bitcoin Frog. I bought the Bitcoin Frog for like 750, and it went up to 25K in
Oh,
six
nice.
months, and I was like, damn, evening ribbiting in Twitter and going degens, paying 750 for a Bitcoin NFT was a nice was a nice thing to do.
Yeah, isn't that funny how that happens? I mean, like um, only in crypto. So let's see. So we've been talking for a little while now. To kind of wrap things up, you've gone from dev founder outside of crypto, dev and founder in crypto. What career advice would you give to people who are considering going that route or maybe becoming a technical founder themselves?
I think one thing as a founder you really need to understand, and I think we spoke about this just before, is it's an attention game. So if you're a talented founder who is a talented developer founder, and you want to build something, today it's not enough to just build it. You also have to be able to get people's attention, get other people to support you, and also don't build in silo. Try to talk to customers who are going to be using your product as early as possible. I think this is a mistake that every founder does, and me included. Even though I've got the advice of talk to customers, I've always had this urge. Oh, I want to build it. It's so exciting, and then I spend a month of my time building something, and I realized that it's not really something that people want to use. So now I kind of took a little different approach, thinking of myself first and foremost as a marketer and as a business person, and then as a developer. Also, with all the AI tools, development is gone so much faster. There was a hackathon. I think Vercel run hackathon that run only 3 hours or 1 hour or something crazy, because you can literally use AI to build the front end in 30 minutes. You cannot write smart contracts that fast. They also need testing, and there's a lot more to do with smart contracts. You have to be very smart about smart contracts. But the most important thing is you have to find something that has a moat. So something unique that people would want to use, that is not too far in the future, and is relevant right now. So like we said earlier, we were too early to build a multi-yield product, and all about how you wrap it. If we would wrap it as a stablecoin project that brings yield, it would have been a completely different psychological game. So as a founder, you really have to think about user psychology and think about how you can build a product that's going to be very convenient to use and onboard users, because a lot of DeFi projects still today are very hard to use and understand. So yeah, and one last thing, when you build your front end, don't talk about how cool your tech is. Talk about what benefit it has for your users, because everyone likes, including us, we like to pat ourselves on the back how cool our tech was. But at the end of the day, all the user wants to do is come on your website and get their problem solved or make some money. So just show them how you're going to make them some money or solve their problems.
Yeah, that's so tough because you spend all day talking to devs, talking to VCs, people who may legitimately be interested in the tech, but then when you
Yeah,
go to market it to people, you know, they just want to know what it can do, right? And that's
exactly.
same thing for anything. Well, this has been phenomenal. So for people who are interested, where can they find you and where can they find Clip?
So clip.finance is our website. I'm on Twitter. I don't use Twitter that much, but if you still want to follow me, it's 404 Grape. Feel free to send me a DM. I'm happy to share any advice or share my experience with you.
Awesome. Thank you, Alex.
Thank you so much, Patrick. It was a pleasure.